Hi boys and girls, welcome to another Sunday School session at Compassion Outreach Ministries. I am Miss Candace here today to talk to you on the topic of obedience. But before we go into such a big topic today, I want you to join with us as we go into a time of singing and dancing and praising God today. So feel free to clap and sing along as we go into that time now. Welcome back, boys and girls. Did you all enjoy that time of singing? I definitely did as well, right? So we go into the topic now of obedience, as stated before. Now, obedience comes from the root word obey. And to obey simply means to follow instructions. Now, do you know that we get instructions from a number of people over us? Firstly, we get instructions from God. We get in His Word in the Bible. We get instructions from our parents, from our teachers. And do we follow them all the time? Sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we don't. Now in John chapter 14 and verse 15 says, "If you love me, keep my commands." Keep simply means again to follow or to obey the instructions. So Jesus told us in His Word, if we love Him, we ought to keep His commandments. So now I want to tell you a little story from the Bible. Have you ever heard the story of Jonah? Well, I'll share with you a little bit about it. Now Jonah was a servant of God. He loved God with all his heart and he was obedient to God most times. But there was one time where Jonah was very disobedient to God. God had given Jonah an instruction of a job to do. He wanted Jonah to go to a country called Nineveh to preach the gospel to them, to let them know that what they were doing was wrong. God gave Jonah that instruction to follow. Go to Nineveh and teach them and let them know what they're doing is wrong. But Jonah did not want to go. Jonah knew that the people in Nineveh were very wicked and very disobedient, and he decided he was not going, even though God told him to go. Jonah, wait a minute. I have Jonah right here. Jonah. Now, Jonah did not want to go. So as I said before, he went in the opposite direction of where God had told him to go. Jonah decided to go to Tarshish. He decided that if he went to Tarshish, he would not need to do what God told him to do. So Jonah hopped on a boat and decided to go to Tarshish. Do you think that was right? That Jonah knew what God told him to do, and he was supposed to go to Nineveh, but instead he jumped on this boat and decided to go to Tarshish, which was completely opposite, in the opposite direction of where God told him to go. He was very wrong. So God decided to discipline Jonah and to let him know that he has to do what he told him to do. God sent a storm, and the boat began rocking on the sea. It began rocking to and fro. Now there were others on board, and they found it very strange. Jonah knew that the reason God had sent that storm was because of him and because of his disobedience. So Jonah told the others on the boat to throw him into the sea, because he was the reason why God brought the storm. So they took Jonah and they threw him out of the boat into the sea. And do you know what happened next? Do you think Jonah drowned? No, he didn't, even though there was a storm. God had sent a great big whale to come and swallow Jonah. And Jonah remained in the belly of that whale for 3 days and 3 nights. Now, have any of you all ever been on a timeout where you did something wrong and your parents put you to sit in a corner? Now, this was like Jonah's timeout. He had to sit in the belly of that whale and wait and pray for 3 days and 3 nights before the whale spit him out on the shore. Now Jonah, when he came out of that whale, he decided that he needs to do what God had told him to do. So Jonah went to the people of Nineveh and he told them what God had told him. And they were obedient. So, did you all learn something today? What did God ask Jonah to do? God asked Jonah to go to Nineveh and tell the people there to do what is right. But did Jonah comply with what God said? No, he did not listen. And when Jonah tried to run away from God, what happened? That storm came. And when they threw him overboard, a big whale came and swallowed him up. Sometimes we feel like running away when our parents ask us to do things. I know that I've felt like that before. Where my mom told me to go and wash the dishes, and I decided I would go and hide. And at the end of the day, I would be disciplined, just as Jonah was disciplined in the belly of the whale. And in the same way that Jonah still had to go and do what God told him to do, I still had to go to wash the dishes. So, what God wants us is to be obedient. Don't do the opposite of what we have to do. So, do you think that Jonah was a good man still? Do you think that God did not love Jonah anymore because Jonah was disobedient? No, God still loved Jonah. He did not like the disobedience, but he loved Jonah. And he gave Jonah a chance to go and tell the people of their wickedness. And Jonah eventually did. So, we'll go back to the scripture verse. It says in John chapter 14 and verse 15, "If you love me, keep my commands." So how many of us love Jesus? I know I do. And I have decided that I will keep his commands. So repeat it with me. John chapter 14 and verse 15. "If you love me, keep my commands." Can you say it with me one more time? John chapter 14 and verse 15. "If you love me, keep my commands." So thank you for tuning in with me today on another session of Sunday School at Compassion Outreach. I hope that you guys have a wonderful week ahead of you and know how much we love you, we miss you, you are important to us, and you're very important to God. God bless you. Bye bye.